We relentlessly optimize our daily routines. We track our morning habits, speed read productivity blogs, and schedule our lives down to the minute. Yet most of us remain exhausted and unfulfilled. Modern self-help largely attempts to solve this with what we call the personality ethic. It offers communication tricks and ways to manipulate your image. But if you look at the history of success literature, lasting achievement is built on the character ethic, integrity, humility, and patience, the foundation beneath the hacks. This animation shows a chaotic stream of information passing through a central lens and emerging perfectly organized. That lens is your internal map of reality. We don't see the world as it actually is. We see the world as we are. If a father on a subway lets his kids run wild, you feel irritated. If you learn his wife died an hour ago, your entire perspective transforms. The facts in the subway car remain identical. The way you interpret them does not. Meaningful behavioral change requires shifting that internal lens. While small improvements come from behavior, major breakthroughs in effectiveness require focusing on how you interpret the world. In 1989, Stephen Covey recognized this gap. He argued that true effectiveness is a rigid engineering problem. It cannot be achieved with a loose list of tips. It requires a specific, sequenced construction. You cannot skip steps. A person must undergo a systematic transformation. You begin at dependence, earn your way to independence, and finally achieve interdependence. To collaborate or lead anyone else, you have to master yourself first. Covey calls this the private victory. If you cannot keep a promise to yourself, you are incapable of keeping one to someone else. This internal control starts with habit 1, be proactive. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl survived the horrific conditions of Nazi concentration camps and observed a profound truth about human nature. Even when stripped of every physical freedom, the space between a stimulus and a response remains. In that space lies our freedom to choose. This diagram separates life into 2 rings. The outer ring is your circle of concern. The inner ring is your circle of influence. Reactive people waste energy on the outer ring. Proactive individuals focus inside. Taking ownership physically expands their influence, pushing back external concern. Once you have agency, you need direction. Habit 2 is begin with the end in mind. It involves writing a personal constitution to define your values. Countless people expend massive energy climbing the ladder of success, only to realize at the top that their ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Habit 3 executes the blueprint. This chart maps tasks by urgency and importance. Most live trapped fighting crises in Quadrant I, or wasting time in Quadrant 3. Prioritizing Quadrant 2, reading, exercise, strategy, prevents constant emergencies. Because they aren't urgent, they're easily ignored. Habits 1, 2, and 3 forge your internal hardware. They transform you from a dependent passenger into an independent driver, creating the unshakable core required to handle the outside world. Independence is a midway point. The highest achievements of human effectiveness require bridging outward into interdependence. This is the public victory. To interact with others, you have to manage your emotional bank account. Trust is the currency of relationships. You must methodically deposit kindness, honesty, and kept promises before you can make a withdrawal. Habit 4 dictates how you view those interactions. Think win-win. Our culture conditions us with a scarcity mindset, the belief that for you to win, someone else must lose. Real effectiveness requires an abundance mentality and the courage to seek mutually beneficial outcomes. Habit 5 is the tool to achieve that. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people listen with the intent to reply, waiting for a gap in the conversation to insert their own view. Empathic listening requires diagnosing the problem fully before you prescribe a solution. This animation illustrates Habit 6, synergize. In Covey's framework, synergy is the mathematical output of 2 individuals valuing their differences to create a third alternative. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. This deep collaboration is impossible without the private victory. You cannot navigate a genuine win-win scenario if you lack the personal integrity to stand your ground or the empathy to understand your partner's reality. Even a perfect system generates friction over time. Effectiveness requires maintaining the P-PC balance, the tension between extracting immediate results and preserving the capability to produce those results tomorrow. This cyclic loop represents habit 7, sharpen the saw. It nots the necessity of pausing output to renew yourself across 4 dimensions: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. These habits operate as an integrated system. Neglect one dimension, and the whole architecture degrades. So ask yourself, despite all your daily momentum, which wall is your ladder leaning against? Are you reacting to the noise around you, or are you executing a blueprint of your own design? Lasting effectiveness flows from an internal foundation of patience, character, and inside-out integrity. Optimization at the surface is no substitute for building on the bedrock.